And our first participant is Levich Mikhail and his report, Khabarovsk and Vladivostok, past and present.
Hello dear colleagues, I represent your report under the title Khabarovsk and Vladivostok, past and present. At the beginning of the 21st century, the Far East is dynamically developing region on the territory of which government carries out its large investment projects, develops and runs diverse target programs, and largest cities are actively built. The ongoing processes have a certain influence on a number of problems studied by experts in the field of history and theory of architecture. It's safe to say that many contemporary problems cannot be successfully resolved without recourse to the experience of the past. Especially because today the historical experience in the field of architecture and urban planning once again become relevant. Certain similarities and analogies can be clearly seen in historical and contemporary stages of development of the Far Eastern cities. In particular, strengthening of economic and trade relations with Asian countries, the increasing role of foreign capital, the increased percentage of Asian population, the influence of migrants, small business development, steel construction in the central areas of large cities. Most Far Eastern cities emerged as military ports or posts, reinforcing territories for Russia, allowing for its development. South of the region developed particularly intensively. Some settlements were established there, which later became the largest cities in the region, for example, Khabarovsk and Vladivostok. Have a look at the formation of urban conglomerate in Khabarovsk. The place for construction of a new city was chosen not casually. It was a military post located at the confluence of the Amur and Ussuri rivers in the middle of Negebel waterway, the natural geographical center of the region. The post was named Khabarovka. Military topographer Marceli Lubensky made the first plans of the city. Working on the plan of Khabarovka, the designer used a natural landscape, which is high bank of the Amur, slopes of mountains, rivers. The main street lines, which went on the tops of three hills, are called Artilleriskaya, Middle and Military Hills. So you can see it on the picture. In 1880, Khabarovka was promoted a town status, and 3 years later was renamed Khabarovsk. In 1995, in Khabarovsk there were 14 shopping stores, 41 convenience stores for groceries, and 30 wineries. However, Russian merchants had to withstand stiff competitions from large foreign trade companies. An average of 70% of turnover in the city fell on these firms. For a long time in Khabarovsk, as well as throughout the Amur region, there was a system of free ports, so it means free importation of foreign goods, which put foreign companies at a deliberately pole position. The most rapid rate of construction in Khabarovsk was reached in the beginning of the 20th century. According to the report in 1908, the city had about 13,000 buildings. In 1920, about 15,000 buildings, and in 1915, about 18,000 buildings. The central street of the city, Muravyo-Amursky Street, gradually turned into a nearly continuous line of stone buildings. So you can see it on the slide. City officials spent considerable financial resources on improving city streets and creation of parks and gardens. The streets of Khabarovsk were supplied with sidewalk and lined with trees. So within a relatively short period, a small military post Khabarovka turned into a big city, which with wide landscaped streets and monumental stone buildings. So now let's turn to the formation of urban conglomerate in Vladivostok. In the second half of 19th century, there was a need to find ice-free access to the Pacific Ocean. And 20th of June 1860, a military post called Vladivostok was established. The first building appeared on the northern shore of the Golden Horn Bay, but gradually the area of the city expanded, occupying the western shore and rising to higher tiers of the hilly landscape of the bay. Central Svetlanskaya Street repeated the shape of the coastline, and other streets perpendicular to it rose from the sea up to the hillsides. In 1860s and 70s, Vladivostok was built mainly one- or two-story wooden houses, some of which had stone foundations. By the beginning of 20th century, Vladivostok had turned into administrative, political, and economical center of the maritime region. The city received direct transport links with neighboring regions at the central part of the Russian Empire by railway and sea transport. At the time, brick and stone, social, commercial, administrative offices, hotels, banks, restaurants, and apartment buildings appeared at the center of the city. The increased volume of stone construction, widespread electrification, use of steam heating and plumbing raised utilitarian and aesthetic buildings qualities and significantly improved the lives of citizens. At the same time, they were built hotels constructed according to the examples of European hotels. The hotels are Golden Horn, German, Pacific Ocean, and Central are the examples of such buildings. At that period of time, the city acquired characteristic of European traits. Narrow streets are densely built with stone construction made in the best traditions of classical architecture, numerous commercial apartment buildings, and so on. Talking about stylistic features of architecture of Vladivostok, domination of modern can be noticed, but there are structures made in pseudo-Russian style. One could trace features of classicism, Renaissance, and even Gothic in many monuments. The influence of traditional Orthodox religious architecture is also noticeable. So now let's talk about prospects of using past urban experience in the modern conditions. The Far Eastern region has favorable transport and geographical location. Largest cities in the region, as well as early 20th century, are the links in a natural transport bridge between western part of Russian, European countries on the one part and Asian Pacific region on the other. The combination of advanced port infrastructure and overland transport gives the region a great opportunity to provide transit transport systems, and the presence of large number of industrial plants allows to create large-scale industrial clusters. Juxtaposition with Asian countries, which represent the fastest developing part of global economic, provides excellent prospects for the development of trade and economic relations and attracts foreign capital in the far east of Russia. In this case, studying of history of architecture and urbanism of the largest cities in the Far Eastern region in pre-revolutionary period has a significant importance because at the time the share of foreign business accounted for more than half of turnover. In Vladivostok and Khabarovsk, on the eve of World War, were located a number of trading houses such as Skidelsky, Brenner, and also the officers of Russian Asian Bank, Russian Chinese Bank were situated there. Like 100 years ago, the cities of the Far East are facing problems of migrants, steel construction, development of small and medium business, and so on. Nowadays, the concept of Program of Regional Development in Russian Federation for 2025 is being developed, which deals with the possibility of extending largest cities in the Far East and their transformation into megapolises by merging regional centers, in particular Khabarovsk and Vladivostok, with nearby settlements. It will lead to the increase of density of development and make this area more attractive for business. So, a historical review given in the research allows to draw the following conclusions. The formation of urban conglomerates in the Far Eastern cities carried out gradually. One-story wooden huts and barracks were replaced by two, three-story mansions of entrepreneurs, apartment houses, hotels, buildings of local and foreign trade companies, Orthodox and Catholic churches. Wooden glades turned into wide green avenue in Khabarovsk and narrow European typical stone streets in Vladivostok. From the very beginning, the authorities of Far Eastern cities carried out good administrative regulation and control over the implementation of civil law and improvement of urban areas. The construction in Far Eastern cities were carried out on a regular basis plan, but it's also illustrated by Vladivostok and Khabarovsk. Due to the natural features of the built-up areas, streets were transformed, obeying the complex relief, creating original and memorable silhouettes of the cities. The construction built in the period under review formed a unique image of Far Eastern cities, and many of them are in the golden fount of architecture of the region. Looking back at the processes of formation and building of the Far East, we can trace certain similarities in the development cities now and at the turn of the 19th-20th centuries, which are due to the increased population, small business development, steel construction in the central areas of largest cities. So, thank you for your attention.